Part 126. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1254. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. In the past few days, Tugva felt that he was very uneasy. He was originally selected as a genius representative of the genius battlefield to go to another distant star field, the Stellar Academy field, to communicate this time, which is a matter of great pride. But this mission suddenly felt uncomfortable because he heard Senior Longta say the names of the 3 stellar leaders. Because among the names he heard, in addition to Senior Longta and another Senior Lubihu, there was also a name called Jiayan. Jiayan? In recent times, this name has become so popular throughout the genius battlefield that every normal creature in the genius battlefield has heard of his name. Because he is a terrifying level genius that has been rare in the entire genius battlefield legend for so many years. He is even a monster level genius that is several times more powerful than the average top genius. Monster level geniuses have always been legendary existences. Even in the genius battlefield for more than 200,000 years, they have not appeared a few times. Many people even believe that the so-called monster-level geniuses in the past were just said by the genius battlefield. Words that come from bragging. But this time, a truly evil genius appeared in everyone's eyes. His talent was so powerful that any questioning voice disappeared. Even because of the emergence of this genius, some top talents have self-doubt, and then their mentality is unstable and they go crazy. Who can jump from the venerable level to the star level in just 10 years after entering the genius battlefield? This has surpassed many legendary evil geniuses. At least in the data of the genius battlefield for so many years, it seems that no genius has reached such a growth rate. Originally, no matter how terrifying a genius like this was, he would not be a trouble to Tugva, but when he heard that the leader of this expedition had the name Jiayan, he completely lost his composure. Because others don't understand, but he himself knows it very well. As a top high-level genius, he once had a battle with the evil genius Jiayan. He lost that battle, and it was a battle where Jiayan let him go, otherwise he would die. Jiayan, could it be him? It certainly can't be him. Otherwise, what kind of face should I have when facing this guy? Will he hold a grudge? Tu Fu had no idea how he should face Jiayan. There are several other guys with the same expression as Tu Fu. These geniuses are all high-end talents. They all fought against Jiayan when he was training in the Tianhe forces. They all prayed in their hearts that it would not be Jiayan, but another star-level powerhouse with the same name and surname in the genius battlefield. But the fact made them completely disappointed. When a large group of geniuses lined up neatly and saw 2 stellar seniors they had seen coming, leading another stellar powerhouse they had never seen before, Tugva cursed in his heart, selling mom's batch. Because the flying creature coming above them was much larger than when they saw it before, but its general appearance remained unchanged. It's undoubtedly Jiayan. Everyone, come here and let me introduce you. Longta went down to the ground, called all the geniuses who had been sent together, and then stepped out of his position and exposed Jiayan in front of all the geniuses. This is the other senior leader who will lead you to the Stellar Academy this time. I believe most of you know him. That's right. He is Jiayan. Not long ago, he was as strong as you, even the demon-level geniuses who are much less powerful. Please welcome the arrival of your excellency Jiayan now. Longta's words shocked all the geniuses on the ground so that they could not speak to themselves for a long time. To be honest, among this group of geniuses, there are indeed many people, like Tugva, who have known Jiayan's name for a long time. Some of them even looked down upon Jiayan's name when they first knew it. He looked at Jiayan with an attitude. But how long has it been now and they are actually calling Jiayan senior? By the way, Jiayan is already at the star level now. Even though he is definitely younger than them, according to the rules, they really have to call him senior. Huan, welcome Senior Jiayan. Suddenly, a top-notch genius and a semi-star powerhouse said this hesitantly. The top geniuses have spoken, what can others do? Welcome, Senior Jia Yan. Senior Jia Yan, I am your fan. A group of geniuses reluctantly shouted out the words of their seniors. Hello everyone, it doesn't matter what the seniors say, otherwise they would call me old. I am not even 40 years old this year. Jia Yan shook his head, then looked at several familiar creatures and smiled strangely. Not even 40 years old? Impossible, senior, you are just joking. Not even 4 or 40. What kind of genius is this? When Jia Yan told his age, his whole body exploded. You must know that as geniuses, these creatures in the genius battlefield have been standing in the clouds for too long. They think that even if they are a little worse than Jia Yan, in fact they are not much worse. For example, there is a private saying that Jia Yan, the evil genius who suddenly appeared, might be a creature that has lived for hundreds of years. He deliberately accumulated knowledge and promotion items for a long time, and then exploded. With the current name. But now Jia Yan actually said that he is not even 40? Among the genius creatures present, even those top geniuses who have cultivated the fastest, the venerable ones are at least 40 years old, the second level ones are 98 years old, and the semi-star level ones are no less than 120 years old. Jia Yan, a star whose strength far exceeded theirs, actually said that he was not even 40 years old. In other words, among all the creatures present, he is still the smallest. Of course Jia Yan was right. He said he was not 40 years old, but considering his age after rebirth, he was really not 40 years old. A group of genius creatures all want to be like Tu Fu and say, selling mom's batch. You, the team leader, went out to supervise and protect us, but you turned out to be so much younger than each of us. How do you call a child to protect a group of adults like them? And, 40-year-old Stellar. Who has heard of it? This is no longer a monster, but a monster that defies heaven. Jia Yan, don't joke with them. Even Longta, who was standing next to Jia Yan, was shocked for a moment. Then of course he didn't believe it and asked Jia Yan not to joke. Haha, okay, I'm not kidding anymore. Hello, I'm Jia Yan. Anyway, don't call me senior anymore. It's okay to call me Jia Yan. You can also call me Master Jia Yan. I hope we can get through this together in the future. Happy traveling life. Jia Yan smiled and did not refute. This smile made others think that what he said before was a joke, and every genius breathed a sigh of relief. Well, you have all seen that Your Excellency Jia Yan, like the two of us, is an approachable stellar powerhouse, and he should be about the same age as you. In the future, everyone must obey His Excellency Jia Yan's arrangements and words. Do you understand? Longta saw that Jia Yan's words had stirred up the atmosphere in the room, so he followed up with some encouraging words. After stepping aside, Jia Yan secretly looked at the geniuses present. Jia Yan couldn't help but be slightly surprised at this look. The talent base of the genius battlefield is really astonishing. There are as many as 10 top geniuses here alone, and there are 55 high-level talents, and the high-level talents are all the most powerful in their respective levels. A group of geniuses, no wonder they need to be escorted by 3 of our star-level experts. This was actually the first time that Jia Yan saw the top genius in the genius battlefield, and he couldn't help but take a second look at it. Although he has reached the stellar level, it is a regret for Jia Yan that he has not been able to fight against the top geniuses before graduating from the genius battlefield. So when he had the chance, he couldn't help but use his scrutinizing eyes to look at several top genius creatures for a long time. Master Jia Yan has been observing us. Why is this sight a bit uncomfortable? I am a male, is he so good? Several top male genius creatures felt that their purgative organs suddenly tightened. The females, on the other hand, have bright eyes. You must know that Jia Yan is a genius whose talent far exceeds theirs, and he is now a star. If they can catch up with such a genius, even if they pay the price of monster body, they no complaints either. But in fact, Jia Yan didn't have that feeling about them. After carefully observing the top 10 geniuses, he finally withdrew his gaze. A top genius, indeed a top genius. He sighed, and at the same time felt lucky that he did not challenge the top geniuses when he was at the exalted level. Of course, when he was at the venerable level, as he said, he did not return to the person he was before the Orion arm. If he had obtained the biochemical mediation stone from the biochemical star domain through a series of opportunities in the Orion arm, he would have been crushed by that time. There is no problem with the top semi-star talent. In his view, the strength of top geniuses lies in their mastery of their own innate abilities. The combat effectiveness of each top genius will be more than double that of a high-end genius, or even more. But now that Jia Yan has reached the star level, and his strength has increased many times compared to before, of course he will no longer have any interest in these little guys. Find the book garden. So after seeing the reality of the so-called top geniuses, I stopped paying attention. Alas, Master Jia Yan doesn't seem to be interested in us. Several top female geniuses were slightly disappointed. As for the males, they felt their purgative organs loosen up and felt very lucky. Okay, as I said before, everyone should prepare. Get ready to go tomorrow. If we don't get good results this time, we won't have the shame to come back. Give me some credit. Longta said some words and then announced that the geniuses could leave. Watching a group of geniuses leave, Longta turned around and saw Jia Yan's uninterested expression, and couldn't help but smile. Jia Yan, this task is not as simple as you think. There may be some unforeseen obstacles and troubles on this trip to the Stellar Academy. You have to brace yourself. Thanks to the book friends who gave the tip. There is a problem with the starting point and I can't see the name. Sorry, mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1255. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. After letting the geniuses leave, Jia Yan talked with Longta and Luo Beija for a while. Then he bid farewell to the two powerful men and came to an extremely huge building on the temporary planet. This building is quite large. Jia Yan was very satisfied with his living environment. Jia Yan looked at the environment and saw that there was nothing wrong with it, so he settled in. The entire building is 10 kilometers high and covers an area of 50 kilometers. Even if Jia Yan lives in it, it will be very comfortable. With his current body size, he never expected to encounter such a comfortable living environment. Even though I have seen the sincerity of the genius battlefield, it doesn't mean that I completely trust them, so I won't let down my guard until I leave the genius battlefield. Jia Yan thought for a while, then took out the communicator. Are you Ziba? My name is Jia Yan. I am in the genius war zone now. However, in the edge areas of the war zone, communications should not reach you so quickly. Now I and the war zone are generally at peace. You are in, there's nothing to worry about in genius battlefield. Well, we'll talk about it later when we have time. After Jia Yan sent such a message, he hung up the communication directly. Although communication can be carried out in the genius battlefield, the edge of the genius battlefield is actually hundreds of light years away from the central area, so communication cannot be reached so easily, so Jia Yan just left a message. The gap between him and the genius battlefield must have affected Zibala a little. Although Jia Yan planned to take Zibala out of the genius battlefield in the future, it was not now, so he hung up on such a communication in the past. Zibala could resume her previous production and life without worrying so much. After sending the communication, Jia Yan slowly immersed himself in his heart again, communicating and improving his strength. When he reaches the star level, it is not so easy to improve his strength, even for evolved beasts. Of course, compared to ordinary star-level powerhouses, Evolution Beast not only improves much faster, but also has overwhelming strength at the same level. Otherwise, Genius Battlefield would not know that Jia Yan is an Evolution Beast. After reaching the star level again, they simply stopped and did not dare to trouble Jia Yan. However, this is also related to the fact that Jia Yan has not brought trouble and threat to the current Genius Battlefield. In short, they may be tentatively trying to contact Jia Yan. After all, there are too many unique races in the universe, and the evolved beasts are just one of them. First, if Genius Battlefield has to struggle with things from 200,000 years ago, then there will be too many things for them to struggle with. Well, it seems that my strength is about to stabilize. In the past, I could only be regarded as a star level that was about to go through the stable period, not even a true star level. After this stable period, it was just right. It was also when I passed the stable period of my mutation that the combined strength of the two increased. Maybe my strength has improved a lot compared to when I fought Kong Ping. Jia Yan smiled slightly after feeling his current strength. On the next journey, I will take the Edisha. When I find a suitable black hole, I can leave the team for a while and get an artificial black hole suitable for my star level. By then, my strength will definitely be improved by another level. Big cut. During the night, Jia Yan finally put down his worries. It seemed that Genius Battlefield really had no plans to take action. Jia Yan is not a real villain. Since the other party does not take action, the relationship between the two parties can certainly be maintained in the future. The next day came, Long Ta and Luo Beiju invited Jia Yan early, and called out a group of geniuses to board a giant ship that was 40 kilometers long. Everyone, I have my own aircraft. I will follow you for a while. After 2 days, I will get into my own aircraft and follow you. Is this in compliance with the rules? Jia Yan suddenly asked after following Longta and others into the battleship, which was much larger than the Edissa. Yes, but the flying speed of this battleship is extremely alarming. Don't let your aircraft fail to catch up. Longta looked at Jia Yan and said with some doubt. He had been watching Jia Yan grow up, and he had also investigated before and knew that Jia Yan did not have a stable ultra-fast aircraft. Don't worry, my aircraft is not slow. Jia Yan gave him a confident smile. The Edisha's current ejection capability, although not completely faster than the giant battleship at its feet, cannot be slower. I've met 3 seniors. The 3 star-level experts are the strongest in this huge battleship, and they are also the commanders of all geniuses and staff. Every creature that sees them will salute with utmost respect. You all just stay well, we'll be leaving soon. Longta treats a group of geniuses completely like juniors. But he looked at Jia Yan differently, looking at his peers. This made the geniuses who had fought against Jia Yan, who observed this from a distance, look bitter and lower their heads even lower. It turns out that this group of geniuses can be said to be the most elite and greatest group of existence among countless genius creatures in the entire Genius Battlefield. Originally, they should be extremely proud. But now that Jia Yan exists in this giant ship, they can no longer be proud, and they have completely lost the aura of genius. Even if there were a few who wanted to brag, they thought about it and thought of Jia Yan, a genius senior who was younger than them and whose strength was so much higher. They retracted the bullshit they wanted to export and sighed. Tasteless, I don't want to say anything more. What qualifications do they have to brag next to such a monster and terrifying existence? Haha, Jia Yan, having you here has really helped us a lot. Look, those guys who used to be so self-righteous now don't dare to speak loudly. Few of them are still proud of us. There are many benefits to management. That's right, you are awesome. You don't have to hit or scold them, or even talk to them. They all behave themselves one by one. It seems that it would be best to leave such jobs to you in the future. We are a group of awesome people in the Genius Battlefield. Guys like you will be jealous when they see you. Long Ta and Luo Beidual almost admired Jia Yan for what they saw in front of them. You must know that they have done similar things several times before, but every time they dealt with the so-called geniuses in the genius battlefield, it was an extremely headache. After all, each of the geniuses in the genius battlefield was more or less inferior to those at the same level. If there is a little bit of fun and then a battle begins, which star-class escort will not have a headache? Haha, you two are so complimentary. I didn't expect them to think so highly of me. Jia Yan smiled helplessly. To be honest, he didn't want to care about the group of geniuses in the genius battlefield. There were even a few who had fought with him before, and he didn't want to manage them. But he didn't expect that these guys would do anything when they saw him, so what could Jia Yan do? Okay, now that everyone is here and the geniuses are ready, let's go. Jia Yan, you have to control your aircraft to follow. The two astral-class people announced their plans to the geniuses on board the giant ship, and then directly issued the order to set off. The giant battleship, which is 40 kilometers long, looks almost as big as a planet. Jia Yan knew that even Zibala could not produce such warship construction technology without industrial support, because the technology involved could no longer be solved by one or two people. So after watching the battleship he was busy with for a while, he sighed and felt the battleship suddenly accelerate. In the starry sky, this huge giant battleship first flew forward for a period of acceleration. After more than 5,000 kilometers, a twisted space appeared in the front of the huge hull, and then the entire battleship jumped into this twisted space. Within the space, this is the propulsion speed of the real warp propulsion engine. Jia Yan suddenly could hardly feel the presence of the Edisha behind him, so he quickly gave the order to Edisha to jump into subspace and eject. Then he felt that, not far behind the giant ship, the Edisha was chasing quickly in extremely deep subspace. What a fast giant ship! Only then did he feel how fast the giant ship in front of him was. If it weren't for the ejection device, the Edisha would definitely not be able to catch up with it. Haha, Jia Yan, your aircraft hasn't caught up with it, has it? It's okay. If you can't catch it, put it behind you. It doesn't matter if you pick it up when you get back. Longta saw Jia Yan's demeanor change slightly and couldn't help but smile. To him, the speed of this giant ship in the genius battlefield is truly extremely fast. Jia Yan is a creature that does not seem to have much background. Even if he is an evolved beast, this means that he cannot have it. An aircraft with speed comparable to that of a giant ship. Moreover, he had seen Jia Yan's aircraft before. Although it was not small, it was not fast at all. No, my aircraft is catching up. Just when Longta was thinking so much, Jia Yan shook his head. Catching up? How is it possible? Longta was startled, and then his brainwave power looked behind him, but he didn't feel anything. He and Luo Beiju looked at each other and then made a tacit agreement not to pursue the matter further. They thought Jia Yan said this because he wanted to save face. Of course, Jia Yan would not explain anything, but after chatting with these two stellar powerhouses for a while, he exited the command cabin of the giant ship. Call. In fact, it was only now that Jia Yan's tense heart was completely relieved. Until just now, he had prepared the worst-case scenario that Genius Battlefield would attack him. When he saw the giant ship passing the exit of the Genius Battlefield, speeding up its use of the curvature engine, and entering a place similar to subspace, but not like subspace, he was completely relaxed. It seems that Genius Jean is sincere to me, so I won't treat Genius Jean as a defense target in the future. He faintly recognized Genius Zanyu's actions. In fact, he can be regarded as being in the Genius Battlefield and has gained a lot of benefits. It is also a good thing for him to be able to avoid falling out with this place like the Master Sect. Mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1256. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. The universe is vast, and a mere galaxy can be described as like gravel. However, within this galaxy, it is still extremely prosperous and full of life. Even technological creatures capable of crossing galaxies are not uncommon. Here is a giant battleship that can span the vast starry sky. This, Jia, Lord Jia Yan. I don't know much about the place you mentioned last time. A slightly cramped sound echoed inside this 40-kilometer-long giant ship. Jia Yan raised his head lightly and looked at the awkward-looking creature in front of him. He couldn't help but sigh slightly. The geniuses in the genius battlefield are really capable of bending and stretching. Originally, Jia Yan wanted to casually serve as a guard in this giant ship, and even meet the role of a skilled worker, but he did not expect that on the first day, a highly talented genius who seemed to want to find Jia Yan's shortcomings came to ask for advice. After he asked some questions, more and more geniuses came to him. It seems that among dozens of people, a genius comes over every day and annoys Jia Yan to death. Oh, it's you again. Haven't you figured out the problem last time? By the way, I remember we met before we boarded this battleship. Come on, let's not talk about your problem first. Let's talk about it. What happened the first time we met? Jia Yan shook his head, his compound eyes lit up, and he looked at the creature in front of him that was only over 300 meters in size. Sir, I won't ask for advice anymore, thank you. When the creature heard this, his demeanor suddenly changed, and then he didn't dare to ask for advice, and just ran away as if running away. It turns out that this guy is a venerable level genius who came to challenge Jia Yan when he was in the Tianhe force. Although he had reached the peak of the secondary level at this time, and was even selected into the category of communication geniuses who went to the stellar academic field this time, but compared with Jia Yan, a monster he had fought before, what was he? The last time he came to ask a question, Jia Yan didn't want to argue with him, so he answered. As a result, this guy actually thought that Jia Yan had really forgotten. When he came the second time, of course Jia Yan directly told him what happened before. A good scene made him retreat in spite of difficulties. Next, Jia Yan used a similar method to force away the two geniuses who had fought before. But Jia Yan hadn't said hello before, so he couldn't tell them to get out. After all, as the guardian in name, he has regulations to cultivate the talents within the battleship. Well, it seems that because I just entered the stellar level from a weak state, and I am a perfect level creature, the answers I came up with are much better than those of Longta and Lu Beiju, so they all came to me. Jia Yan shook his head helplessly. In order not to be disturbed, he said hello to Longta and wanted to enter the Aditha behind the giant ship. What? Your aircraft really caught up? After Longta heard Jia Yan's request, he was stunned for a moment. He thought Jia Yan's aircraft had not caught up at all. However, at this speed, he was unable to detect the aircraft chasing behind him, which was not a sign of lack of strength. Since Jia Yan said there was an aircraft, he would definitely not lie. After thinking about it, he agreed. Anyway, under normal circumstances, there is almost no danger on their way to the Stellar Academy, and the Jia Yan aircraft is not far away, so it won't be too late if they arrive immediately. After getting the consent of Longta and the others, Jia Yan flew directly out of the giant ship that was flying at high speed. It takes extremely terrifying power to speed up and slow down this giant ship, so under normal circumstances it can do it non-stop. If Jia Yan wanted to get off the battleship, he could only do it forcefully. When he jumped off the battleship, he instantly felt endless pressure. In an instant, Azure Defense suddenly opened. This caused his entire dark body to instantly turn completely blue. Horrifying. Jumping from a giant ship in navigation is actually such a terrifying pressure. If it were a semi-star level powerhouse, or even a pseudo-star level, he would probably die directly under this pressure, right? But fortunately I have Azure Defense, so I won't be embarrassed. Jia Yan quickly stabilized his flying speed. In fact, he is still in the curvature space of the giant ship ahead. After all, if he flies out of the giant ship and directly reaches the normal space, the inertia will completely exceed the speed of light. What will happen to his body? Jia Yan can't even imagine. Of course, this is impossible to allow, and the laws of the universe will not allow him to appear directly in normal space, so he is still in the curvature space, using the two inertia of slowing down to fly towards the place behind him. Not far away, the space opened up, and inside was a dark and deep subspace. Jia Yan found the opportunity and burst into the subspace, and then the Edisha, which descended to the ordinary subspace, was waiting here. Finally home. After Jia Yan entered the Aditha, he looked relaxed. Not to mention his unusual habits in the giant ship of genius battlefield, he was annoyed to death by a group of geniuses who came to ask questions every day. Fortunately, now that he is back on the Edissa and his own territory, Jia Yan is of course relaxed. Anyway, the speed has slowed down now. I just want to go to the outside world to see if there are any black holes nearby. Thinking of this, Jia Yan directly controlled the Edisha to fly out of subspace. In just such a short time, the genius battlefield giant ship in front had completely disappeared, and at their speed, they might have flown half a light year away. Hurry up and find a black hole, and then you have to catch up quickly, otherwise I might be accused by the people from the genius battlefield of neglecting my duties. Jia Yan looked at the possible direction of the giant ship's flight and felt that time was running out. Fortunately, in the universe, black holes are actually not so rare. In fact, the number of black holes in the Milky Way is almost over 1 billion. In the distant future, they will swallow up the entire Milky Way and even the surrounding galaxies, turning the entire universe into a black and silent world. Of course, this is so far into the future that it's almost unimaginable. At this time, Jia Yan used the Edissa detection system to quickly detect a black hole 1 light-year away that seemed to meet the requirements in terms of mass and size. Originally, 1 light-year away was an extremely long distance for Jia Yan. In the past, the Edisha needed to fly for a long time to reach it, but now she has a new ejection function, which wastes a lot of time. A light-year of energy is almost within reach of Jia Yan at his fingertips. Not long after, Jia Yan arrived at the place where the black hole was. Master, this black hole meets our requirements very well. It is more suitable than the last black hole. Maybe it is really possible to create a black hole that is suitable for you, a star-level person. Edisha looked at the black hole tens of billions of kilometers away and was extremely happy. This is a black hole the size of the Earth, with a mass dozens of times that of the Sun. It emits intense heat and radiation due to ion friction around the black hole. At this time, the Edissa was extremely close to the black hole, and the surrounding temperature reached several thousand degrees. Fortunately, the Edissa was not too close, otherwise it would not even be able to escape. Edisha, the artificial black hole I want to make requires more powerful ions and more powerful radiation. Otherwise, it will not be of any help to me at the stellar level. I wonder if you can enter a little more? If you can't escape, you can escape directly into the subspace when the time comes. Jia Yan made an extremely bold statement. This. Edisha was almost stunned. However, its reaction was very fast, and it seemed that it had reached a conclusion after precise calculations. Yes, but Edissa can't guarantee whether the Edissa will be damaged. Quack, rushing into the depths of the black hole is so exciting. Editha was so happy. Not long after, the huge Edissa began to move, and it slowly approached the black hole even closer. And when we reached a place of 200 million kilometers, the surrounding space at this time almost reached a temperature of tens of thousands. Countless particle-like things were rotating around the black hole, and were even stretched, and then were torn apart by the extremely powerful gravity of the black hole. It became ions and released extremely powerful radiation. Even the Edessa was slightly transformed, and its body made strange sounds. At this point, it is actually impossible for the Editha to escape in the normal space through its own power. Even if it opens the subspace, there is a certain risk in whether it can escape. That's enough, if we get any closer we'll be torn apart. Hurry up, collect free ions and particles. Wow, so nervous and exciting. When Edisha arrived, she was almost crazy. Even Jia Yan was extremely nervous when he saw the horrific scenes outside through the Editha's external projection screen. You must know that the outside world is a real black hole. In this universe, one of the real ultimate powers, if it is completely captured by it, even the galaxy level will have no possibility of escape. The universe is the universe after all. To the universe, even if it is as strong as the galaxy level, it is probably just a little ant that is a little stronger than the people on Earth. Jia Yan felt a flash of enlightenment in his heart. Edisha didn't have so many ideas at this time. At this time, it tried its best to control the Edisha and collected materials and energy like crazy. Master, if you want to make it, make the best artificial black hole. The kind that can destroy a whole star in one explosion. Haha, scare them to death. Edisha was almost crazy. However, at the same time as it spoke, a certain unstable external part of the Edissa made a clicking sound and completely broke. Then, without energy protection, it turned into particles and fell into the depths of the black hole. Holy shit, Edisha, hurry up, don't worry about whether it's the best or not. This scene almost made Jia Yan's scalp numb, fearing that the Edissa would disintegrate in the next moment. Even though it was a star, it would definitely not be able to resist the gravity of the outside world for long before it would be completely radiated and destroyed. Gravity shreds. Haha, Master is scared, Master is a coward. Unexpectedly, Edisha actually turned on the taunting mode. It made Jia Yan think that its brain was damaged by the gravity of the black hole, and he almost broke out in a cold sweat. Okay, but the next moment, Edisha made a very happy voice. Wow, I'm very grateful to Brother Xiao Xi and Jingdu for the 14,000 starting coin reward. Rich man, please give me a hug. Thank you very much. In addition, I would like to thank the book friend Yang Yu Daxian for the reward. Thank you. Mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin Yu. Chapter 1257. The Lingua Force is a small force developed in a small star system between the two major spiral arms of the Milky Way. The so-called two major spiral arms are the Sagittarius arm and the Perseus arm. The Orion arm, where the solar system is located, is between these two major spiral arms. However, in the relatively empty area between the two spiral arms, there are also stars, and there are also biological systems, but there is not such a brilliant civilization and power here. The Lingua Force is a small force in a lonely star system in such an open area. There must be other life forms in this universe. Our Lingua Empire will definitely be able to find other life forms and even rule them and become the only top civilization in the entire galaxy. Among the Lingua forces, there is a royal family system, and this royal family, through scientists, has recently discovered more and more evidence that there are other civilizations in the galaxy. For example, they can always receive Wenzi's radio signals, and there are many of them. For another example, they can detect traces of biological activities on some distant planets. Of course, those traces are a bit too scary, and scientists believe that they are not man-made, otherwise the level of technology would not be beyond their imagination. Look for this emperor. Our great Lingua Emperor family will definitely be able to find other habitable stars and then dominate the entire galaxy. The Lingua Emperor clan is extremely warlike. Ever since they defeated all the countries and challengers in the entire Lingua galaxy 20 years ago, they have set their sights on the entire galaxy. Emperor, I have to say that our approach is extremely stupid. As I said before, there must be civilizations in the universe that far exceed our Lingua civilization, and there are even civilizations that far exceed our Lingua civilization alone. Powerful creatures. According to my speculations and observations over the past 50 years, the dark power of the Milky Way will definitely give birth to extremely terrifying creatures. If you are too bellicose, we will plunge Gua civilization into a state of eternal destruction. A paralyzed Lingua civilized creature controls the machine with his eyes and makes a warning sound. Humph, you guy, don't think that just because you won the Nobelco Prize for Scientific and Technological Achievement from our Lingua civilization, your words have more weight. You are also saying that our Lingua civilization will perish within 200 years, and you are talking about aliens. There are aliens who can destroy us. They are still saying that there are very scary creatures. If they really exist, why don't they appear? Why don't you let them appear once? The Emperor of Lingua civilization is a scorpion-like creature. He has a huge body of more than 30 meters, and his strength has reached a level similar to that of the outside world. He is very powerful. Emperor, I am serious. With my knowledge and insights on the universe, you must believe me. The paralyzed creature reluctantly used his eyes to control the machine and persuaded him hard. Go to hell. The Emperor shot the paralyzed creature away with a single AO. If there is an extremely powerful creature in this universe, let it appear. There is nothing that can be better than the god of Lingua we worship. The black hole is even more powerful. Wow, haha, in this universe, there are only those who believe in us. True God, black holes are the final truth. The Emperor stared obsessively at the dark space not far away from the Lingua galaxy. In that space, there is an extremely terrifying interstellar killer, a black hole. According to the speculation of scientists from the Lingua civilization, in another 300 years, the star system of the Lingua civilization will completely fall into the gravitational field of this black hole, and by then their entire civilization will be unable to escape. That's why the Emperor was extremely concerned about escaping from the Lingua galaxy, even crazy. When he discovers civilization, he will find a way to occupy it and then enslave the other party to continue the civilization of Lingua. Just as he was observing the pitch black hole, his eyes couldn't help but glazed over. The paralyzed scientist on the other side also used the machine to get up again. Then when he looked at the data on the machine, he was also stunned. Why did our God suddenly light up? The Emperor was stunned, and then there was a loud roar in his mind. Is it because the black hole is going to suck us in early? Why is there such a strange movement? He quickly came to the paralyzed scientist, completely losing the majesty that an emperor should have. You must know that it is a black hole. If it really starts to show its power, not to mention their small Lingua civilization, even the mother star of their civilization, the Lingua star that accounts for 98% of the total mass of the entire galaxy, they will all be swallowed clean. Impossible. Emperor, my data terminal shows that something flew out from the surface of the black hole. This. The paralyzed scientist seemed to be excited and trembling in his paralyzed body. Is there something flying out from the surface of the black hole? This is absolutely impossible. Even light cannot escape the gravity of a black hole. How can anything escape its attraction? There must be something wrong. The Emperor was completely unconvinced. What is a black hole? That is the only ultimate power in the entire universe. They led scientists from the Gua civilization to speculate that after endless years, the universe will slowly lose all light due to the death of stellar energy, and the mass of stars will be converted into black holes, and then the entire universe became pitch black. What can this final ultimate power fly out of? This is completely impossible. But with his impossible voice, a group of scientists came to him like crazy outside his emperor's palace, saying that they had observed something flying out of the black hole in the opposite direction, and it completely disappeared. What on earth is this? Is there really other life in this universe? Even this life can actually resist black holes? Could this be the true God? The emperor was completely stunned. In their observation system, the things flying out of the black hole were extremely slow at first, and it seemed that it was extremely difficult to break through because of the gravity of the black hole. But not long after, its speed became faster and faster, and finally it completely escaped the category of black holes. Ah! This is an aircraft, so scary, such a huge aircraft. When the detection system finally fully saw the appearance of the thing flying out of the black hole, the people in the Lingua galaxy were even more shattered. Could it be that the thing that rushed out of the black hole in reverse phase was an aircraft? Oh my God, these must be aliens. This is the first time we have seen aliens other than our Lingua civilization. This is a major event that can be recorded in history. No, since he can fly out of a black hole, it must be something beyond our unknown technological level. Oh my God, it's actually coming towards us. No, if we are approached by this terrifying unknown aircraft, our Lingua civilization will definitely be unable to resist it. Hurry, arrange a defensive fleet to attack it. No, if you attack him you will definitely die, so what should you do? The entire Lingua civilization was trembling. However, compared to their nervousness and fear, the approaching aircraft did not feel the other party's emotions at this time. It's scary. I couldn't even jump into the subspace just now. It turns out that when you get close to a black hole, even the subspace will be affected. This is amazing. If you didn't think of the way that the subspace and the Edisha's ejection ability would explode together, I'm going to be stuck in a black hole forever. Jia Yan was inside the Edisha, a terrifying aircraft considered by many creatures of the Lingua Empire. At this time, he did not think about the thoughts of Lingua civilized creatures, but still stayed in the crisis just now. When facing the black hole, his proud strength became so small. If it weren't for the ejection power of the Edisha, he would have died just now. Fortunately, the required production resources are sufficient, but the energy consumption of the Edisha is too high. There happens to be a civilization in front of it. Let's go over and see if we can get some energy. Jia Yan finally came to his senses from the extremely frightening scene, and at the same time vowed in his heart that he would never do anything that would cause a heart attack next time. Hey, this civilization seems different from the civilization in the outside world. The next moment, Jia Yan saw that the civilization in front of him seemed different from other alien civilizations in his impression. However, the opponent still seemed to have battleships. At this time, they gathered together frantically and there were a total of 5,000 or 6,000 men, and they quickly came towards Jia Yan's direction to attack. Oh, a warship that can't even compete with the current Earth Alliance warships actually wants to attack the Edisha. Even if I don't take action, if the Edisha is placed here for them to attack, they won't be able to break through the love in 100 years. Disha's defense, right? Jia Yan smiled bitterly and shook his head. It seems that this civilized army is still extremely tough. Just as Jia Yan was sizing up the opponent, he had already surrounded him and completely surrounded the Edisha. Chi 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 chi. In the communicator, the other party's extremely weird communication voice came. So you don't even understand the language? Jia Yan was helpless. It seemed that this civilization was an isolated civilization that developed alone in this area. It didn't even understand the common language of the galaxy. That's all, it seems that the other party also has development science, so I will go find out if there is a suitable energy source myself. Jia Yan was helpless, and with the idea that these guys couldn't do anything to him anyway, he drove the Edisha towards the other civilized planet. Chi 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 chi. Another strange sound came from the communicator. With this sound, the opponent's warships were fully prepared for war, and thousands of them made fighting movements at the same time. Jia Yan didn't care so much. Of course, he didn't want to kill anyone. After all, the other party was like an ant. If you can't kill him, just don't kill him. Anyway, he was the one who offended him first. Jia Yan drove the Edisha and crashed into a group of surrounding battleships in front. The opponents were only 100 or 200 meters in size each. Compared with the huge body of the Edissa that reached 20 kilometers, they were like ants and elephants. It didn't take long for Jia Yan to hit a passage directly. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1258. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. The title of this chapter is wrong. It is The God of Black Holes is above. It is difficult to change it. I hope everyone can understand. Thanks. Ah, black hole bless you. Kill this monster. Seeing the Edissa crashing a wave of battleships, the other party showed no mercy at this time. Battleships opened fire one after another, some not even laser weapons, but ancient space torpedo cannons. The speed of the shells may not be as fast as the slow flight of the Edissa. The creatures of Lingua civilization may have experienced the day that most subverted their imagination since their birth. The Lingua civilization, which had always been speculating on whether there were other creatures in the galaxy, suddenly saw a terrifying giant ship that did not belong to its own civilization on this day. Then the giant ship came to their civilization like an invincible monster. It didn't even react to the battle and siege of Lingua civilization. It seemed like a machine, and it came against the attack of Lingua civilization's fleet. Within the literary starry sky. Oh my God, this big monster is actually stealing our energy mines. What exactly is inside? Is he the great god of black holes, sent to destroy the world? The entire Lingua civilization was in complete chaos. It is impossible to hide such a big thing no matter how hard you try, and not only ordinary people are in chaos, but even government agencies are in chaos. Who has time to hide the news now? We will definitely die. This is the great black hole messenger coming to destroy us. Creatures codenamed as believers of the god of black holes walked around various places, declaring their moral principles, and seemed to regard the huge aircraft as a belief. But no one knew that this huge aircraft was simply the aircraft of a powerful man. Master, these little guys outside are so annoying. They keep making noises. Can Aditya kill them? Inside the Edisha almost jumped. Although the attacks from the outside could not hurt the Edisha, they continued to consume her defense power. At this time, Edisha was anxious. That's not good. Forget it, let's see if the energy here can be used. If so, try to convert it into energy for the Edissa. Jia Yan hesitated for a while, but thinking of his current status, he gave up the idea of dealing with the indigenous-like civilization in front of him. You must know that he is an evolved beast. The reputation of evolved beasts in the surrounding star field is not very good. If he goes on a killing spree here, it would be fine if it is not spread, but if it is spread, it will be detrimental to his future development. Very bad. So the next scene made the entire Lingua Empire helpless. The huge aircraft in their eyes did not move at all under their attack, but continued to collect resources from several resource stars in their territory. Especially those minerals that contain huge amounts of energy have been completely exhausted. Even if the Emperor jumps, even if countless battleships take off to attack, this aircraft seems to be unmoved at all. Use nuclear weapons, quickly, use nuclear weapons for me. The Emperor was practically roaring in the palace. He also didn't want to use nuclear weapons, not only because nuclear weapons were too harmful, but also if used, it might anger the terrifying aircraft of unknown origin. But the current situation is that the other party is collecting materials too fast. If all the easily mined minerals in the entire galaxy are taken away, their entire lingua civilization will be greatly affected in the future. You must know that in less than 30 years, the lingua civilization will be swallowed by a black hole. Now that there is no energy, more people may be abandoned when the end comes. Not long after, nuclear weapons were deployed. The nuclear weapons of the lingua civilization are still more powerful than the nuclear weapons of the ancient Earth, especially since they took out hundreds of nuclear weapons at one time. If the big man dared to bear it forcefully, he would definitely not be able to bear it. Master, they have used nuclear weapons. I don't want the Edisha to use nuclear weapons. Inside the Edissa almost cried out in aggrievedness when she saw the enemy's nuclear weapons flying towards the Edissa. Okay, I'll make sure they can't get to the Edissa head office. Jia Yan shook his head helplessly. Next, the entire lingua civilization fell into a state of silent shock and despair. Because they saw that the nuclear weapons launched by themselves could not even get close to the other side for 2,000 kilometers, so they exploded directly in the starry sky. At this point, lingua civilization has no solution at all. You can only watch the other party's actions. Bit by bit, the energy mines in the Gua civilization will be collected. Master, we have stopped here anyway, why don't we just create a black hole in this galaxy, so as not to waste time looking for a place later? The Edissa had an idea. This time Jia Yan agreed without much hesitation. Because in this unknown indigenous civilization, there are many unmanned planets that have not been mined. He only needs one or two of them and will not affect the other party at all. Next, everyone in lingua civilization saw what they thought was a miraculous scene. That huge aircraft actually used some unique method to swallow up the entire planet on a useless planet in their planet, and then used the same method to swallow another one. No one said anything about this strange aircraft, no one even guessed what it was doing. Because they could see with their naked eyes that after the first planet was swallowed, a dark spherical object appeared out of thin air below the huge aircraft. Black hole. Oh my God, am I blind? The great black hole is above, why would anyone be able to copy your greatness? After a full week or so, the Edissa finally created a pitch-black spherical black hole at the expense of swallowing two small planets with a diameter of about 1,000 kilometers. Master, this gravity is strong enough. I don't even dare to let the Edissa get close. When the artificial black hole was completed, an astonishing attraction emanated from the surrounding starry sky. Even Edissa quickly controlled the Edissa to move back, otherwise it might be attracted by the artificial black hole she made. Very good, I'll just put him away. Jia Yan looked at the newly created artificial black hole and immediately expressed satisfaction. You must know that the raw materials for the black holes he made before were not so good, and their attractiveness was much worse than the current ones. He was very satisfied to be able to get such a good one now. Its gravity, if you only count its surface value, will be 10,000 times that of the Earth. This is amazing. At this time, it is completely dispersing gravity, and even a radius of 10,000 kilometers is affected by its gravity. It will also help my fighting ability a lot. Jia Yan nodded, and then flew out of the Edisha for the first time in the eyes of Ling Gua Wenming. Look, everyone, there are actually creatures flying out of that huge aircraft. How could it be possible? Could this be an alien? It's so scary that there are such terrifying aliens. It is at least 1 kilometer huge. What kind of planet can breed such a large creature? No matter how you simulate it, it is impossible. Just when a group of Gua civilization was shocked by Jia Yan's hugeness, something even more shocking happened to them. It turned out that it was that amazing creature that was not afraid of death and flew into the artificial black hole just made. Looking for death. Although I don't know how he created the black hole, he actually dared to fly towards the black hole. Jane is looking for death. The creatures of the Lingua civilization have been overturned by the Edissa again and again these days, but their worship of black holes is deep-rooted. Now they see the huge creature flying towards the black hole they made, although some people think that the other party it has a purpose, but most people still think that Jia Yan is seeking death. But then, their facial features were completely subverted again. I saw Jia Yan flying in front of the black hole, using his brainwave power. The huge black hole, under the influence of Jia Yan's brainwave power and the blessing of some kind of strange stone, slowly retreated into a twisted space behind him. Oh my God! He collected all the black holes. The god of black holes is above. This religion has long said that this gentleman is the messenger of our god of black holes. Come and worship the messenger. Messenger of God. Jia Yan's power and methods, in this lingua civilization, are completely unlike the methods that a living thing should have. Even if the opponent also has a certain foundation of civilization, he still treats Jia Yan as a god. Haha, master, these natives are so interesting, they actually treat you like a god. Although they could not understand each other's words, if this did not prevent Jia Yan and Edisha from understanding each other's thoughts of seeing themselves as gods, not only did the previous attacks stop, but even a scorpion-like man who looked like a big shot, the creatures all came to the Edissa and seemed to bend down in admiration. Oh, we don't have time to train them to play the god game, but we have used so much energy this time. Edisha, please give them some compensation. Then we will set off immediately to catch up with the genius battlefield team, otherwise we will be late. After hearing Jia Yan's explanation, she went to Shiyuan M. Edisha paused uninterested. As Jia Yan said, it already had its own personality and wanted to play with these natives for a while. However, since it was Jia Yan's decision, there was nothing the Edissa could do, so he left a lot of information and set off again with Jia Yan, who entered the Edissa. On the other side, watching the huge figure of the Edissa slowly disappearing into the distance of the universe, and even suddenly entering the subspace, the completely missing shadow made the Emperor Gua's shock never fade away. This is unreasonable. Aliens did not destroy our civilization. This is unreasonable. The paralyzed creature next to him kept blinking and used an electronically synthesized voice to express surprise in disbelief. Get the hell out of here, this is not an alien, it's our black hole envoy. The scorpion-like lingua emperor became angry and kicked the opponent. Emperor, we deciphered a document given to us by the divine envoy. It is a star map. What is marked on it is, look. Orion arm. This must be what the god envoy meant. Come on, let's use the god envoy's professors to build a spaceship and go to the place the god envoy told us. Mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1259. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Jia Yan never thought that the civilization information that Edisha gave to the lingua civilization actually contained some explanations about the Orion arm, nor did he expect that the emperor of the lingua civilization would make the decision to go to the Orion arm. He was just a little excited after making the artificial black hole. With this man-made black hole, my strength will be greatly improved. Generally speaking, in a stellar battle, it is impossible to be restricted to death by a black hole like before, but even if it can play a role, every little bit makes a difference, and it's definitely worth it. Jia Yan was very satisfied with Ling Guowenming and his party on this trip. The only thing he wasn't dissatisfied with was that he spent too much time this time. After all, he was the guidance and guard for the geniuses in the genius battlefield, and if he didn't show up for too long, he would definitely make the genius battlefield officials unhappy. So he ordered the Edissa to speed up the pursuit. In the universe, there is a giant battleship traveling rapidly. The size of this battleship can be said to be extremely rare. With a length of 40 kilometers, it looks like a planet, and the space inside is also incredibly large. And inside this giant battleship, two relatively huge creatures live here. The huge battleship is a bit small for them. With a body that is several kilometers long, they can hardly go anywhere in this battleship. Then Jia Yan is really slow. Doesn't he know that our genius battlefield is not completely trusting him? He has been away from the ship for so long. Looking back at the senior management of the battlefield, those senior officials who have a bad sense of evolved beasts, we must have something to say again. Longta smiled bitterly. He originally thought that Jia Yan was just returning to his aircraft, but he didn't expect that after waiting for 2 months, they were about to arrive at the Stellar Academy, and Jia Yan hadn't arrived yet. Forget it, he must have been too confident in his aircraft, and found that he couldn't catch up with us. Longta explained to Jia Yan. Of course he didn't know that his guess was absolutely correct. Jia Yan was delayed for more than a week, but he originally thought that with the speed of the Edish's ejection, he would be able to barely catch up with this genius warship, but he did not expect that he would not be able to catch up at all, so he was anxious at this time. Lord Longta, the Stellar Academy is coming soon. Didn't you know that we have to jump out of the normal space? A staff member in the giant ship came to Longta and asked him respectfully. Are we here? Well, forget it, we won't wait for Jia Yan, let's enter the Stellar Academy first. Longta and Luo Beiju on the side looked at each other, and then they both nodded. As for the genius battlefield, the two of them were originally supposed to send the geniuses here this time, but after discovering Jia Yan before, in order to test Jia Yan, they also asked Jia Yan to come to the Stellar Academy for exchanges. Of course, they also have another intention, which is to show the Hung Seeing Academy, which has always been at odds with the genius battlefield, how the genius battlefield looks like a peerless monster. As long as you see Jia Yan, no matter who loses or wins in this exchange between geniuses, it will be regarded as the victory of the genius battlefield. After all, in front of the peerless monster, what genius can be regarded as a genius? Get out of here, everyone. But since Jia Yan hasn't caught up yet, there's nothing he can do. He can't stop and wait when he's approaching the Stellar Academy. That might exceed the time agreed upon by both parties. The huge and unparalleled genius battlefield battleship slowly broke away from the super curvature engine, then sprayed flames and headed towards an extremely strange star field. The Western bandits are extremely excited these days. He heard the news that the genius battlefield, which had always had trouble dealing with the stellar starfield, had sent an extremely large team of geniuses to come over for exchanges and exchanges. The leader of the team this time is actually Longta. Haha, more than 10 years have passed since the last time we said goodbye. Although there were people from the genius battlefield who came to communicate with our stellar academic field in the previous few times, they were not Longta. This time, now that he is here, I, the host, must let him see the uniqueness of my stellar academic field. The fact that 11 Bandi was a genius in the genius battlefield before was well known in the Stellar Academy, and the Stellar Academy made him an excellent weapon against the genius battlefield. The geniuses that your genius battlefield cannot cultivate, our Stellar Academy can cultivate them to star level. Moreover, the strength of the Western Bandit is not weak at all. In his own heart, even compared to Longta, the super genius he once wanted to look up to, he is not weak at all. So when he heard Longta coming, the Western Bandit was extremely excited. What happened back then has become an eternal haze in his heart. The more he can return the humiliation he received from Longta, the greater the possibility of his breakthrough, so I wish Longta would come to his place quickly, and then he would be able to operate easily. I don't mind even if I have an interstellar communication with him. Anyway, this kind of thing is not without precedent. The stellar academic domain is an extremely huge star domain. Compared with the genius battle domain where the genius battle domain is located, it is not only not small, but even a bit larger. The forces behind this stellar academy are also as huge as the genius battle domain, with faint hints of galaxy-level figures. Two similar institutions are separated by 20,000 light-years. Although the distance is extremely far, they are actually two institutions with similar functions. In addition, they were founded at almost the same time. If the two sides say you copy me, I will copy you. They have been fighting for 200,000 years, and because both sides are about the same strength, the quarrel is still going on even now. Here we go, Genius Battlefield is using this kind of spaceship again this time. It has been many years, and even the appearance of the spacecraft has not changed. It seems that the innovation ability of their starfield is not good at all. Haha, of course, it is ridiculous for such a backward starfield to say that it can be compared with our starfield. If we were not separated by 20,000 light-years, and the areas where people are recruited from both sides are also different, they would have been there long ago. It was swallowed up by our stellar academic field. One by one, geniuses from the Stellar Academy are waiting for a group of geniuses from the Genius Battlefield just outside the gate of the Stellar Academy. The Stellar Academic Domain is different from the Genius Battle Domain. It does not have the fluctuations caused by the battles of several powerful experts as natural boundaries. However, they have a similar closure method, which is to use a machine to separate the entire more than 1,000 light. The land of the year is surrounded by terrifying machines. Although this machine does not have a defensive function, it can serve as an early warning. No matter where the powerful person is, as long as he dares to secretly enter the Stellar Academy, he will definitely be discovered and killed. At least ordinary strong people would not dare to enter the Stellar Academic Domain at will. Even stellar-level experts may be in danger if they invade the Stellar Academic Domain without valid reasons. After all, like the Genius Battlefield, the Stellar Academy is a powerful force with at least 100 or 200 stars as its foundation. The gate of the Stellar Domain is like a real gate, but this gate is actually too big, with a height of 2,000 kilometers and a width of 10,000 kilometers, which can almost accommodate the entire Earth. Even with such a huge gate, there is still a constant flow of traffic, because unlike the Genius Battlefield, the Stellar Academy has only 4 passages, so the traffic flow is extremely huge. But today, in order to welcome visitors from 20,000 light-years away, the Stellar Academy has completely closed this gate passage. Although the Genius Battlefield battleship is 40 kilometers long, it looks like a little ant flying into this huge gate-shaped building, which looks very ridiculous. Haha, welcome, friends from the Genius Battlefield. Just as the Genius Battlefield battleship entered the Stellar Academy, a large group of personnel was already waiting inside the gate. One of them, a being that was 10 kilometers in size, looked like a star, but was slightly more powerful than the Long Tower, came forward with a smile. Long Ta and Luo Bei flew out of the battleship duel. Even though they were mentally prepared, they were slightly shocked by the size of the team in front of them. It turned out that the strongest person who greeted the team was actually an intermediate star-level being. You must know that in the astral level, if there is one level difference, it will be a lot worse to some extent, and there is almost no possibility of fighting beyond a level. It turns out it's a senior from Beizhong. I'd like to trouble you to greet him personally. The juniors are really frightened. Longta felt his scalp numb. You must know that in the 2 major star fields, the most talented people are geniuses, and this giant beast called Beizhong was extremely powerful before. Now that he has reached the middle stage of the constant breath level, his strength is far beyond that of his peers. Even among the powerful mid-level stars in the Genius Battlefield, it is very difficult to find someone who can match him. So when Longta faced him, he didn't have any pride at all as a star-level powerhouse. Because compared to this mid-level star who was promoted from the top genius back then, all the living Chu that Longta had fought before were already weak, and they might be able to kill him with one move in front of Beizhong. So how dare Longta be disrespectful? Haha. You're welcome. You are guests from afar. Come on, let's introduce the geniuses from both sides first. Then visit and rest for 2 days, and then we can communicate. Fortunately, there didn't seem to be too many strong men in Beizhong who used their strength to oppress Longta and others. After laughing and talking, they left here. He, a top expert in the stellar academic field, would certainly not participate too much in such a small exchange competition. That would be a loss of face. West Bandit, long time no see. Not long after he left, Longta met the strong man who truly received him and others. Longta, there's nothing more to say. I hope the geniuses in your genius battlefield can take action this time. It turns out that the people who received Longta and his party this time were actually Western bandits. The two sides introduced the geniuses on both sides, and then on the Western bandit side, there was a top genius who had reached a semi-star level. When the 2-star levels were talking, he actually dared to speak out. Why didn't Jia Yan, your genius battlefield, come this time? Mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1260. Jia Yan. All the stellar powerhouses present were slightly startled when they heard this name. At Yuan. In the field of stellar science, it is because I have never heard of this name, and the genius who said this name is a well-known genius in his own field of stellar science. He is even a rising star in the past 10 years. The name he can call out, it will definitely not be an unknown person. But they have never heard of it. On the genius battlefield side, the two stellar powerhouses had strange expressions, and the geniuses following them had strange expressions. Jia Yan is actually here. He just jumped ship halfway and then disappeared into shadow. However, the genius battlefield side would definitely not follow what they said. Longta and Luo Beiju looked at each other and thought that it was still uncertain whether Jia Yan would come, so they had to sigh. Haha, Your Excellency, Jia Yan from our genius battlefield will come if he has a chance, maybe he will come soon. What he said was ambiguous. He neither directly pointed out that Jia Yan's coming soon was really Malay, nor did he say what kind of strength Jia Yan is now. It's best if he comes. I haven't solved the matter with him yet. The tortoise-like creature said this and was so proud that he didn't even look at a group of top semi-star geniuses in the genius battlefield. Is this guy having trouble with Mr. Jia Yan? Among these geniuses, several geniuses began to whisper. Oh, I know about this. His name is Duo Jian. If you still remember, when Lord Jia Yan was still a venerable, this stellar academic genius once came to our genius battlefield with the senior Western bandits to communicate. Then I met Senior Jia Yan in a remote star area. Oh. I remembered that back then, his Senior Jia Yan's strength was even a little higher. Even with the big clan combat skills activated, he could only compete with Senior Jia Yan in a tie. So that's how it is, this guy still remembers what happened back then. Who says it's not? But it is obvious that the star academic field is so uninformed that he doesn't even know that the Jia Yan he is talking about is already a senior at the everlasting level, and he actually wants to challenge Senior Jia Yan. Haha, if he knows the truth, he doesn't know what expression to show, how dare he challenge it. Several geniuses from the genius battlefield, no matter how bad the attitude of the talking giant tortoise-like creature was, they just thought about what kind of expression the other party would have if they saw Jia Yan, and they felt refreshed for a while. Look at you guys in the Stellar Academy, you have beaten us several times in a row. When you see the real monster-level geniuses in our genius battlefield, will you still dare to say words that can defeat us? In the past few years, the geniuses of the genius battlefield have lost several times when facing the stellar academic field. Even within the genius battlefield, some stellar-level executives are wondering whether the teaching method of the genius battlefield is wrong. I want to learn the method of cultivating geniuses in the stellar academic field. Come on, geniuses, come with us and see what advantages our stellar academic field has over your genius battlefield. The feeling of the West Bandit speaking was full of thorns, but unfortunately, now in the Hexing Academy, the genius battlefield people dare not speak even if they are angry. You must know that there are many strong opponents here. At the same time, a group of geniuses in the genius battlefield, led by Longta and Luo Beiju, headed towards the interior of the Stellar Academy. A fast aircraft was speeding along, accelerating in the subspace. Alas, they are all outside the Hangxiu domain. It is no longer possible to chase them away. Inside the aircraft, a long sigh sounded. Jia Yan shook his head helplessly. After the Edissa took in the man-made black hole, he continued to move forward. He even used all his strength to maintain the man-made black hole behind him, so that its speed could be kept behind the Edissa. Forget it, it's time to hurry up. Slow down a little. This action has greatly weakened even my brainwave power. After all, pulling an artificial black hole requires a lot of power. Jia Yan shook his head helplessly. Under his control, the Edissa slowed down. His brainwave power at this time was greatly reduced. Even the repair ability of an evolved beast could not keep up with the consumption of physical energy and brainwave power. Since he couldn't catch up, Jia Yan simply smashed the jar, slowed down the speed of the Edissa, and cultivated his body's energy first. In this way, after 3 or 4 days, Jia Yan restored his energy under the influence of certain energy substances and the essence and blood of the unknown senior who had been stored on the Edissa for a long time. Okay, I'm in peak condition again, and I feel that my body has been strengthened more steadily. It seems that occasional large-scale energy consumption is also a good way to strengthen, just like the effect of exercise on Earth. Jia Yan stood up calmly in this space. His strength reached its peak again. Okay, let's go out, Edisha. Jia Yan knew that after several days of sailing, he had reached the edge of the stellar domain. If he flew further, he might enter the stellar domain through subspace. Of course he doesn't want to do this, because the subspace voyage of the Aditya is very rare, but there must be a way to detect him in the stellar academic field. Let's not talk about whether there are means to capture him. This misunderstanding is definitely not easy to explain. Opened. Not long after Jia Yan issued this order. As a talent cultivation force with an influence area of more than 10,000 light-years, the Stellar Academy is extremely busy every day. As a force that has existed for more than 200,000 years, it is as old as the genius field. Even the dominant forces behind them have changed several times, but the Stellar Academy has never been destroyed. Mom, I scored about 500 points in yesterday's entrance exam. If I can enter the Stellar Academy with the score of the first semester, I will definitely have a chance this time. Okay, if you can enter the stellar academic field, our family's wish has been fulfilled, and the position of prince will definitely be yours. Haha, I can't stand the mere position of crown prince of our power. When I become a star, the entire star field of ours will be mine. An extremely luxurious-looking battleship had just flown through a silent star field, but unexpectedly, an extremely huge aircraft flew out of the twisted space. Wow! What kind of aircraft is this? A young voice suddenly came from the battleship that had just flown over. It's actually an aircraft based on the principle of subspace. Mom, I want this aircraft. Please help me get it from him. The huge aircraft that had just flown out of subspace had not fully recovered from its twisted state. Suddenly, behind it, a group of soldier-like creatures flew out of the battleship that had just passed by. You are so brave. You dare to ram the battleship of our goody royal family. Please pay compensation, otherwise you will suffer a lot. A soldier shouted at the huge aircraft that distorted space. In fact, the soldier's expression was solemn, because he could see that a creature that could possess such an aircraft would definitely not be a simple creature, but he thought of the huge power of his family, and that the queen was a powerful person. The semi-constant breath level expert is now confident. Roll. While he was shouting angrily, a faint male voice impatiently came from inside the aircraft. Puff. The entire vacuum of the universe seemed to vibrate under this faint sound. The soldier and a group of creatures around him were completely unable to resist the sound and flew backwards, each of them suffering extremely serious injuries. Even in the battleship at the rear, a female creature that had reached a semi-star level was completely unable to resist the power of this voice and directly spurted out a mouthful of biological blood. This, hung, Stellar Master. On the battleship, the female creature that had reached the semi-star level was completely shocked. She did not expect that just by asking for the battleship for her son, she actually provoked a strong star-level man. Let's go, come on, this stellar lord, we've offended you, I'm sorry. The female creature even had the intention to kill her son. Not even her empire's strongest man, a top-level semi-star ancestor, dared to offend a star, let alone her. As expected of outside the stellar academic domain, you can easily encounter a stellar class. It seems that you need to keep a low profile around this stellar academic domain in the future. Do you understand? Son. Seeing the warship fleeing in panic, Jia Yan snorted coldly. He had just let the Edissa escape from the subspace, but he did not expect to encounter such an extreme situation. Made him feel less fond of this starry land. Not only are the personalities of the creatures different from ours, but it seems that their body composition is different from ours, and even the power of the universe is different. As expected, they are 20,000 light-years apart. The difference from the genius battlefield is huge. Jia Yan felt the surrounding world again, and soon felt that there were many differences between this starry sky and his hometown 20,000 light-years away. And when Jia Yan was feeling the world 20,000 light-years away, suddenly, a huge figure came like lightning and quickly rushed in front of the Aditha. Stellar level. Jia Yan was suddenly shocked. He had never thought that he would meet a stellar level expert just after arriving in the Stellar Academy. Could it be that Senior Longta and the others had already calculated that I would come to greet them, specially arranged by the Stellar Academy? No, I don't have such a big reputation, and Senior Longta and the others might not have taken my news to the Stellar Academy. Jia Yan quickly overturned his idea. Since he didn't come here to greet him, then what did this star level come to do? Jia Yan was still thinking, but the approaching lightning-like star-level creature actually shouted words that made him stunned. Who are you, Your Excellency? How dare you come to Xing Academy to cause trouble? Thank you to Brother Shaoxin Jingdu for another 2,000 starting coin reward. Thank you to Xing Chen still looking for the free novel Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky. Search directly on Baidu. Reading Joy. 150,000 popular novels can be read for free. Reading Joy is exciting. Reading Joy. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1261. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Make trouble? Jia Yan was stunned. Could it be that the previous attack on the battleship was regarded as making trouble? My friend, I am not causing trouble, but the people from the previous battleship are rude to me. Jia Yan fell silent and explained. Rude? I didn't see them being rude. Instead, I saw you attacking the geniuses who wanted to sign up for my stellar academic field. If you hadn't come in person, you might have wanted to kill them. But it's a big taboo in my stellar academic field. You said, this is not making trouble. Who? Jia Yan was speechless. It was obvious that the other party had an extremely domineering temper. It was clear that he was the mother and son in the battleship just now. He wanted to seize his Edisha, but he actually called white things black and slandered himself in stellar science. Domain trouble? Your Excellency, what you said is too overbearing. It's clear that the other party is wrong. I just drove them away. If you have to take care of this, don't you think that your control is too lenient? Jia Yan's words also calmed down. After all, he has become a star level, and there can't be too many things to care about. Moreover, they are both in the early stage of a star level, so he is not afraid of the other party at all. He has his own temper, and he will definitely not accept his fate if the other party bullies him. Very good, you actually dare to speak ill of our stellar academic field. Now I am arresting you for disrespecting our stellar academic field. Are you going to let me go and be arrested, or are you preparing for me to take action? You must know that the stars in my stellar domain are much more powerful than the stars in the outside world like yours. If I take action, you will have to suffer a lot. The other party's words were fierce, and he actually wanted to capture Jia Yan, a stellar powerhouse, in just a few words. In fact, this stellar powerhouse only dared to say this after seeing Jia Yan's strength. As a star-level powerhouse, he can easily see that Jia Yan, a star-level creature, is a being who has just reached the star level. From the perspective of this lightning-like star-level powerhouse, he is a genius star-level strongman who belongs to the stellar academic field, and the opponent is just a creature that does not belong to the stellar academic field, and his level is not as high as him. Of course, he feels that he can suppress Jia Yan. The Stellar Academy is nearby and is already so domineering. You want me to just surrender and be captured? Jia Yan understood instantly. This is how things are done in the Stellar Academy. No wonder he flew all the way here. There is no force near the Stellar Academy. It seems that it is because the Stellar Academy is here and there is no power at all. Are other forces allowed to exist? His compound eyes flashed slightly, thinking that he was in a foreign land, so it would be better to keep a low profile. Your Excellency, I am an envoy from Genius Battlefield. Please be accommodating. Jia Yan spoke to the other party in the Aditha with a slightly respectful expression. Genius Battlefield, the other party was startled, and then immediately showed an angry look. You are so brave. You dare to pretend to be a person from the Genius Battlefield. If I hadn't known that the messengers from the Genius Battlefield had arrived, I might have been deceived by you. Now you will be punished for all crimes. Get out of here. Aircraft, let me take you back and interrogate you properly. Huh, it seems that it doesn't make sense to you. Jia Yan also felt anger welling up in his heart. He has already shown his goodwill. As the messenger of Genius Battlefield, he is the genuine one. If he shows weakness now and is taken back by them, wouldn't it bring shame to Genius Battlefield? Of course, the bigger reason is that Jia Yan is not willing to be so cowardly. The Aditha slowly opened a hatch, and Jia Yan's 1 kilometer-long body slowly flew out of the hatch. And just after he flew out, the Aditha actually retreated backwards and entered the subspace. When the lightning-like creature saw the characteristics of the Aditha, a strange color suddenly appeared in its eyes, and its true purpose seemed to be revealed. A large battleship is nothing to a star-level powerhouse, but an aircraft that can travel into subspace will be a good transportation tool for every star-level player. The current stellar powerhouse turned out to be interested in the subspace flight capabilities of Jia Yan's Aditha and wanted to take it for himself. Since you have come out to plead guilty, the aircraft cannot be put away. Let me let it out. The other party thought that Jia Yan had accepted his fate, and ordered with a hint of satisfaction. Confess. The strange color in Jia Yanfu's eyes became more eye-catching, and then he took a look at the lightning-like creature in front of him. This creature is very strange. Its entire body is gleaming with lightning. Its head and tail are about 1.5 kilometers long in total. Its body is almost impossible to see clearly in the lightning. He still has a completely alien feeling about him. Compared with the starry creatures that Jia Yan is used to feeling, he seems to have an essentially different structure. Hey, you sinner has such a strange body, but no matter what, let the aircraft come out first, and then go back with me to accept the investigation. The lightning creature glanced at Jia Yan, and was also a little surprised by Jia Yan's biological weirdness. But his words were still extremely arrogant. "I'm not trying to plead guilty." Jia Yan shook his head. "What? You actually said that you don't want to plead guilty?" The lightning-like creature seemed to have heard something unbelievable and asked Jia Yan in great surprise. "Yes, I did nothing wrong. Why do I have to plead guilty? I think you need to apologize for slandering me, otherwise I will protest to the higher UPS of your academic field in the name of the genius battlefield envoy," Jia Yan said calmly. "Ha? You are still talking to me about the words of a genius battlefield envoy, and you still want to protest to the higher UPS? Okay, if you have the ability to survive 10 seconds under my hand, I will apologize, but if you can't survive 10 seconds, you will die. Don't blame me." The lightning creature didn't give Jia Yan time to react and launched an attack directly. "Really so domineering?" Jia Yan's expression was shocked, and a ruthless look flashed in his eyes. "Anyway, he has recorded everything in the video data. No matter where he puts it to reason, he will have an advantage. Since the other party wants to fight, let's fight." Seeing this lightning-like creature suddenly attacking in the direction of Jia Yanfu's eyes lit up, and then he dodged in the opposite direction of the opponent's attack. The entire body of this creature was extremely slender. While Jia Yan was dodging, its tail actually changed its flight direction and quickly rolled towards the direction where Jia Yan was dodging. Bang! There was a sound in the starry sky that shook the entire space. At this moment, Jia Yan failed to dodge the opponent's blow. An electric spark burst out of his body at the same time, and he was hit by the tail of the lightning creature and flew backwards. You see, the gap between the average star level and the star level in our stellar field is so huge. What else do you have to fight back now? The lightning monster must still have no intention of killing Jia Yan. After all, as a stellar powerhouse, he still doesn't know what Jia Yan's background is. Without a big hatred, he doesn't want to commit suicide. But just when this stellar creature wanted to step forward and subdue Jia Yan, the giant mosquito in front of him suddenly moved, and one of its front legs stabbed out like wind. "What? Why do you still have the power to backhand?" The lightning-like creature suddenly started, and then twisted its slender body to avoid Jia Yan's thrust. After he fled to the side in shock, he was shocked to find that his previous attack had almost no impact on the flying creatures on the opposite side. Jia Yan was also slightly frightened at this moment. The place where he was swept by the opponent's tail was now a clear blue. It turned out that the blue defense had a defensive effect at the moment when it was attacked by the opponent. I underestimated him, Jia Yan sighed in his heart. There is no simple star-level expert, and this star-level creature is a creature 20,000 light-years away that he has never come into contact with. The strange attack at this time made him eat a lot of food as soon as he encountered it. Deficit. Moreover, Jia Yan has not only never seen a creature in the stellar domain, but also a stellar-level powerhouse. This is the third creature he has fought head-on. To put it bluntly, he is still a rookie in a stellar battle. At this time, he suddenly sees a creature that is not only a stellar, but also has a different biological structure and talent than he is familiar with. Of course, he will be at a disadvantage. But now I see clearly, this guy's specialty is electricity, and with his slender body, just think of him as a giant steamed bun. Jia Yan thought of the best metaphor, and then he felt reassured. At this time, the lightning-like creature attacked again. No matter how you hold on to my power, you are defeated anyway. If you don't want to die, just let me take care of you. He rushed to Jia Yan again, and at the same time, his slender body twisted around, as if no matter which part of his body was, it was a part that could be attacked at any time. This kind of attack is too weird. At least Jia Yan has never seen similar attacking creatures in Genius Battlefield and Orion Arm. I'm going to catch you without mercy, you underestimate me, Jia Yan. Jia Yan's expression sank, and his body instantly entered the subspace. Huh? This guy is a subspace gifted creature. The other party was also shocked when he saw Jia Yan suddenly entering the subspace. Just as there were not many lightning creatures like him in the genius battlefield, it was also rare for the creatures here to see subspace creatures. Could it be that he is really a creature from the genius war zone? Humph, if so, then we have to win. Now that the war has begun, if the opponent is really a genius from the battlefield, this will be a matter of face for both star regions. I can't lose. The lightning creature felt that Jia Yan entered the subspace. After all, as a creature that has achieved star level for a longer time, at this time, he has rich combat experience and directly launched into the star level field. Crack, crack, crack. The entire space suddenly turned into a space filled with lightning. On Jia Yan's side, he moved quickly in the subspace. He originally wanted to highlight the subspace attack, but the electric light actually spread quickly and entered the subspace. Mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1262. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. This field is so terrifying. It can even affect the subspace. Jia Yan was slightly frightened, and quickly retreated in the opposite direction of the opponent's domain release. Fortunately, even if the lightning field can affect the subspace, it cannot penetrate deep into the subspace. Jia Yan flies into a place about 5 degrees into the subspace, and it cannot pursue it. Not long after, a huge figure appeared more than 200 kilometers away from behind the lightning monster. And here, it is the edge that the opponent's domain cannot penetrate. Escaped actually. The other party was startled and stopped pursuing the field. He was sure that if Jia Yan entered his domain, even with the use of electricity, he could electrocute Jia Yan to death. However, this domain was very powerful and consumed a lot of energy, so he gave up on expanding the domain. At this time, both sides felt the other's difficulty. The star-level experts in this star field are indeed extraordinary. They are not at the same level as Kongping. Of course, this is also related to the fact that I am not used to fighting with the creatures in this star field. In addition, I have not yet with all the experience of fighting against stars. It's not unacceptable that we can't defeat the opponent quickly now. Jia Yan looked at the lightning creature from a distance, eager to try. Of course he has nothing to fear. After all, as an evolved beast, he is still far from his limit. Although he is sure that the opponent does not have his limit, he will definitely win in the end. Stop. Just as the two sides were at war with each other and regarded each other as their formidable enemy, a huge and incomparable sound suddenly sounded in the distant starry sky. A huge creature came quickly, rushing into the battlefield like the wind. After all, this is outside the Stellar Academy. If the strong men in the Stellar Academy don't even have this reaction speed, they are not worthy of their reputation. What arrived was a huge creature that looked like its whole body was covered with white hair. He was 8 or 9 kilometers long, and his whole body was releasing an extremely astonishing, terrifying aura. This is a powerful creature at the middle level of a star. Even his talent is estimated to be beyond Huochu's, so at this moment, he feels completely terrifying pressure that makes Jia Yan almost unable to breathe. Arriving in front of the two fighting parties, the other party first looked at the lightning creature, and was slightly surprised when he saw that he had released the domain and failed to capture Jia Yan. But when he turned his attention to Jia Yan, he hid his shocked look. This stellar friend came to make trouble at the gate of my Stellar Academy. You may have gone too far. The white-haired creature knew the temper of the lightning monster, but it couldn't help outsiders now, so it looked at Jia Yan as unfriendly as the lightning creature. Ha! Jia Yan suddenly laughed. He glanced at the white-haired creature with astonishing strength, then glared at the lightning creature that slowly closed its domain and, together with the white-haired creature, vaguely surrounded Jia Yan, and finally said something. So this is the stellar academic field. If your entire academic field is like this, I'll give you 1,000,000 years, and you won't even think about being able to compete with our genius battlefield. What? Daring to say we can't compare to genius battlefield? That's simply abominable. The 2-star level experts were angry at first, and then the white-haired creature was shocked. Wait a minute, you said you are from the genius battlefield. I remember that the people from the genius battlefield came here a few days ago, and they didn't say that you would be there later. Tell me honestly, why are you pretending to be from the genius battlefield? Could it be that you want to disrupt the relationship between my stellar academic field and the genius battlefield? After hearing what the other party said, he was still so domineering. Jia Yan finally understood that this stellar academic field was basically a force with such an attitude from top to bottom. Looking back, it seems that I had the same feeling when I saw the group of challengers from the Stellar Academy in the genius battlefield. At that time, I thought it was the pride of geniuses, but now it seems that this is the atmosphere of the entire Stellar Academy. Trouble the relationship? I don't have this idea, but if your stellar academic field is prepared to treat me as an envoy with this attitude, then I can definitely say that it is you who are messing with the relationship, not me. Jia Yan shook his head. You, well, since you insist that you belong to the genius battlefield, then I will ask, if not, you will die miserably. After all, the white-haired creature was different from the lightning creature and was much calmer. At this time, after hearing that Jia Yan claimed to be a genius battlefield messenger without any guilt several times, he became a little suspicious. Then he took out a communicator and said something to the communicator. Next, all the creatures at the gate of the entire Stellar Academy were surprised to see that not far from the gate, 3 stellar-level experts with astonishing strength actually looked like they were confronting each other and stayed at the door calmly. But this scene did not last long. About half an hour later, another communication came. Nalanta said, is he really a member of the messenger? The white-haired creature was stunned again after receiving the reward. Okay, Jia Yan, right? Tell me about your genius battlefield. It's coming as soon as it comes, and it will be divided into 2 parts, which will cause trouble for us. Well, no matter what the festival is now, it can't be defeated. We know each other, please stop, both of you. The white-haired creature kept looking at Jia Yan, still seeming extremely uncomfortable. Because there is no force near this stellar academic domain that dares to release it like this near their stellar academic domain. Jia Yan, right? I will spare you this time, but since you are a member of the Genius Battlefield Messenger, how about we add some spice to the exchange this time? Every exchange between our 2-star regions is a battle between geniuses below the star level. It is not interesting at all. I am very interested in your strength. After the exchange between geniuses is completed, we might as well do it in front of them. What do you think about the stellar battle, letting them know the strength of the stellar class? Don't tell me you don't dare. The lightning creature looked at Jia Yan provocatively, barely able to conceal its murderous intent. Although he did not dare to actually kill Jia Yan, he could still be forgiven if he severely injured or even disabled Jia Yan in the name of fighting. Although he was provoking Jia Yan at this time, because he believed that with the poor combat effectiveness of the 2 sides shown before, he must be more than 90% sure that Jia Yan could be defeated. Oh, you want to make a fight with me? That's fine. I don't think it's interesting to fight with all the geniuses. It's okay to have something exciting this time. There was a faint flash of light in Jia Yan's eyes, and then he nodded. To be honest, the opponent was strong, but Jia Yan was just a little frightened by his strange fighting method. If he actually had to fight, he didn't feel that he would lose at all. Since the lightning creature stuck out his face on his own, Jia Yan certainly didn't mind giving him a slap. Haha, I don't like everything to be violent, but since you have already agreed, I can't say anything. I hope you two won't get into a fight then. The white-haired creature laughed loudly and seemed to be sincere in saying to be merciful, but in fact, the excitement in his eyes could not be concealed. As an extremely powerful force, the Stellar Academy has long been dissatisfied with being on the same level as the Genius battlefield. Since this time a star-level expert from the Genius battlefield has come to their door, of course they will have to make a fuss about it. If they win, then they might be able to take advantage of the limelight this time and completely defeat the Genius battlefield. Seeing that the two stellar students in the stellar academic field were so confident, Jia Yan actually smiled slightly. No matter what, he would not engage in verbal disputes. The actual strength will be known when the time comes. Okay, let's all go in. It's not a good thing to be watched by a group of weaklings like they're watching a show. The white-haired creature changed its attitude and became slightly respectful to Jia Yan. After all, he was the envoy of the Genius battlefield, and his strength did not seem to be that weak. It was still necessary for him to show a certain amount of respect. Of course, Jia Yan was non-committal, and ordered the lightning creatures on the side to look at the subspace where the Edisha had disappeared into, and the light in his eyes flashed with reluctance. Although he was unwilling to do so, he had no choice but to follow the white-haired creatures into the astral science. Domain Gate. This is the gate. When Jia Yan saw the gate of Hungsing Academy, he was startled by the huge gate. This handiwork is so terrifying that it can accommodate almost the entire Earth to enter, and it blocks the road like a dog. This shows how prosperous the stellar academic field is. There are students from the Stellar Academy or their parents' battleships all around. However, the parents cannot enter the gate. They can only send them outside the gate, and then the students are pulled into the academy by the battleships inside the Stellar Academy. Wow, I scored 630 points this time. I will definitely be able to enter the stellar academic field. A creature that looks like a giant but has 5 heads ran up to a creature that looked almost the same as him, only bigger, jumping around. I got a score of 640 in the test, and I'm better able to enter the stellar academic field. Hee, as long as I have a teacher to teach me, my strength will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Several creatures who were also not too strong were screaming in surprise in front of a light screen at the gate. Test? Isn't this similar to a school on Earth? Jia Yan and the 2 stellar-level experts slowly flew into the gate of the Stellar Academy with all the creatures bowing their heads in respect. Then they looked at the young creatures happily in front of the light screen at the gate, feeling as if they had something in their hearts. Think. Do you see, this is the advanced place of our stellar academic field. Your genius battlefield believes in the laissez-faire cultivation of geniuses, but our stellar academic field is different. Not only does it require an exam to enter, but after entering, there are teachers to teach. There are even separate students and teachers for one-to-one training, which is different from the backward mechanism of your genius battlefield where only top geniuses can be trained individually. Seeing that Jia Yan was surprised by the situation around him, the lightning creature sneered proudly. Mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1263. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. You dare to build a higher education system similar to the one on Earth, and are you proud of it? Jia Yan didn't refute, just shook his head. Of course, things in the stellar academic field are still different from the higher education system on Earth. Jia Yan was just making an analogy in his mind. After entering the gate, there is an extremely vast starry sky, but here, there is no feeling of a sudden increase in energy similar to the genius battlefield, but it is generally more standardized than the outside world. Speaking of which, your genius battlefield is really holding the golden duck egg. The environment in the battlefield is so good, but it still can't compare with my stellar academic field. It's really ridiculous. The 2-star class people seem to want to say all the ridicule to genius battlefield to Jia Yan. Even Jia Yan, who doesn't have a sense of belonging to the genius battlefield, is slightly sullen at this time. In any case, he is a stellar powerhouse who came out of the genius battlefield, and the other party keeps saying bad things about the genius battlefield in front of him. Both emotionally and rationally, Jia Yan should have retorted a few words. However, Jia Yan gave up the idea after a flash of light flashed in his eyes. Fortunately, they saw that Jia Yan did not refute his remarks, so it was meaningless. Not long after, a battleship appeared in front of the 3-star level powerhouses. Okay Jia Yan, it's time for me to leave. I'll let the electric ghost take you there. I hope there won't be any more friction between the two of you on the way there. The mid-level stellar expert in the stellar field said to Jia Yan. Senior Mingtu, please go if you need anything. I will abide by the rules of your school. Jia Yan nodded respectfully. After he left, Jia Yan and the lightning-like creature entered the battleship together. During the rest of the journey, the lightning creature named Electric Ghost did not continue to talk to Jia Yan. After all, he also knew that no matter how unbearable the genius battlefield was, it was still not much different from their stellar academic field. If being too offended is not a good thing either. Fortunately, the genius battlefield team had not entered the Stellar Academy for a long time. After Jia Yan and the Electric Ghost traveled for a while, they saw a group of battleships that were already waiting. This is a team composed of several 40 to 50 kilometer long battleships. The 40-kilometer class battleship in Genius Battlefield, apart from its different styles, seems to have nothing outstanding among this fleet. It makes people sigh that there are so many huge battleships in this world. Jia Yan, you are indeed here. Just as Jia Yan and the Electric Ghost flew out of the battleship they were on, Long Ta and Luo Beiju were already coming out from the fleet at the other end. Don't say too much. Your previous encounter with the Stellar Academy will be treated as if it never happened. Just as Jia Yan was about to say something, he first heard his faint fixed-point transmission from Longta. He nodded calmly, and then said a few useless words to Longta. Longta even worked with Luo Beiju to help him introduce a group of stellar experts from the stellar field who came off several other battleships. Your genius battlefield has actually sent 3 stellar masters this time. It is truly the most luxurious lineup in recent years. It seems that we can look forward to this genius exchange battle, haha. One of the opponent's high-level stellar primary creatures looked at Jia Yan looking up and down, and seemed to see a hint of Jia Yan's youth, so he couldn't help but take a second look in surprise. Fortunately, Jia Yan is now at the stellar level. It is not that simple for others to see clearly his reality. Otherwise, based on his current age, he would probably be shocked by the entire stellar academic field. Jia Yan? I seem to have heard of it somewhere, but even if you have heard of a new star-level genius in the battlefield, he is still a junior. How can he be compared to a strong person like us who has been promoted to the star for a long time? The stellar creature seemed to regard Jia Yan as a genius whom he had heard of before, but he never thought that just a few days ago, the top genius in their stellar academic field, Duo Jian, said the name. But now no one has thought that the opponent Duo Jian mentioned would be the stellar powerhouse. After all, the strength level is too different. Duo Jian's opponent, even if it is a talent that is not much different from his, which is only half a star level, how can it possibly reach a star level? At this time, Duo Jian was in one of those battleships, practicing in seclusion in order to prepare for the next battle. He never thought that the opponent he had always wanted to fight had already arrived in front of him. Even with strength that he could never imagine. However, the only ones who knew about it at this time were Jia Yan himself and a group of geniuses from that genius battlefield. Haha, If that duo Jian knew that Your Excellency Jia Yan had reached the star level, I don't know what his expression would be like now. I see, he doesn't dare to appear in front of Master Jia Yan now. A group of geniuses never thought that Duo Jian would be in retreat. Jia Yan's arrival did not cause much commotion. After all, 2 or 3 star levels came to the genius battlefield. It did not have much impact on the star academic field. Could it be that with 3 star levels, is it possible to attack the stellar domain? Just like if the Stellar Academy sends a few star classes, they think they can destroy the genius battlefield? That's a joke. A group of battleships united together and moved very fast. In less than half a month, they quickly arrived at the center of the Stellar Academy. To put it bluntly, Jia Yan understands the opponent's operation method after seeing too much in the field of stars. There are not as many complexities as in the genius battlefield here, nor are there too many different star areas. Instead, there are many blocks divided by talent. Those with strong talent or unique talents can be promoted to higher level areas. This is really like the schools in the past on Earth. All geniuses in the academic field have to take exams. Of course, the exam content is much more, and there is also the danger of life. Is it a star field that focuses entirely on learning to fight with full efficiency? Jia Yan seemed a little silent after seeing everything about the stellar academic domain. As a stellar expert, he could certainly see that the Stellar Academy's efficiency and success rate were much higher than those in the genius battle domain. More than twice that. No wonder there are always news coming out in the star field recently, trying to infiltrate our side. But this kind of thing is not something I consider. After all, a war between 2 vast star fields will not break out immediately. The strength of both sides is it's powerful, and it will definitely not reach the Orion arm right away in a fight. Jia Yan shook his head. He was not interested in this war involving 2 vast star fields, because they knew that even if they were to fight, they didn't know how many years it would take. For now, he only needs to focus on the task in front of him. After completing this task, he will find ways to continue to improve his strength. Reaching the star level is equivalent to a new world before you. The talent and strength of the evolved beasts will completely explode at this level. Now Jia Yan is just taking a peek at the door, wanting to fully reveal the details of the evolved beasts. Needs training. Okay, gentlemen of Genius Battlefield, we have arrived at the place where the battle is about to begin. Just as Jia Yan was still deep in thought in the battleship, a voice suddenly sounded from the battleship 40 kilometers away in Genius Battlefield. Are we here? Jia Yan stepped off the battleship with 2 Genius Battlefield star-level experts, plus a group of geniuses. Is this the center of the Stellar Academy? It looks a bit prosperous. The Stellar Academy conducts teaching in a very strict management manner, so their planning is more rigorous than that of the Genius Battlefield, so that places similar to the central star area of the Genius Battlefield look very planned and beautiful. In this central area, some powerful person, with extremely terrifying strength, placed several planets here in the same place one by one without being torn apart by gravity. Only genius creatures of various races are flying around. Everyone, that is the battle star in our Stellar Academy that is specially used to prepare for top competitions. Come on, this time the communication battle between us will take place there. A star-level powerhouse came to the genius battlefield and said something to Jia Yan and others. The geniuses from the stellar field in front had already taken the lead and entered the battle star, while the people from the genius battlefield followed their footsteps and slowly approached the star. The battle star is indeed worthy of being a battle star. This sense of planning is completely built for battle. Looking at the battle star in front of him, Jia Yan suddenly felt that it was not without reason that the genius battlefield would lag behind the stellar academic field in all aspects. This battle star has many battle facilities on it, and the simulated battle environment is extremely realistic. There is even a section of the area that is completely filled with magma. It looks like the magma layer underground has really surged to the ground. Haha, you see, the people in the genius battlefield are completely confused. They must be frightened by the facilities in our stellar academy. Who among you has been to the genius battlefield? Are they as backward as the legend says? On the stellar academy side, a group of geniuses were waiting somewhere on the battle star. When they saw the people in the Genius Academy looking like Lu Lao Lao entering the Grand View Garden, they almost burst into laughter. I'm lucky enough to have been to the Genius battlefield. The planning in the Genius battlefield is indeed very poor, and the battles are happening in a mess everywhere. Among the geniuses in the stellar academic field, the tortoise-like Duojian spoke. But don't underestimate the Genius battlefield. They are as famous as our academic field, and they are not in vain. Just like the one I fought with last time was named Xia. Just as Duojian was speaking, his eyes suddenly froze. Jia Yan. Duojian was completely stunned. As soon as he mentioned Jia Yan, he immediately saw a huge figure suddenly appearing in the Genius battlefield team. The figure was completely different from the body in his memory, but the general appearance, especially the slender mouth parts, was exactly the same as before. Jia Yan? Mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience.